Hello, everybody, and welcome to Kyrus Has Friends. My name is Kyrus, and I am super excited to be here with my good friend Bill Kamps. But before we get over to him, we have a really cool announcement to make. So, for those of you that were following me this past week, you know that we have started rolling. And Bill, this is news to you as well. It might be.
I don't even know what you're gonna say.
I know. So, guess what? We have the Vibe with Kai merchandise now. There is a store. There is the Vibe with Kai store. If you go on my website, thevibewithkai.com, you can get, I'm not lying, t-shirts, hats, aprons, bibs, dog stuff. Like, I'm dead serious. This is a thing. It is happening. Go to thevibewithkai.com to get your stuff. We actually ran out of hats. People are buying hats with the Vibe with Kai on it.
Well, I've just done my Christmas shopping, Kai.
Yeah. I know what I'm getting you for Christmas. And if you act this week, this is the final week where you can get 15% taken off of your order. So go to thevibewithkai.com. If you like anything that you're watching here today, you can be sure to follow me on Facebook and on Instagram at The Vibe with Kai. You can also follow me on Snapchat and TikTok at Kyrus Keenan. And I'm ready. I'm super excited. I have a good friend here today, Mr. Bill Kamps. Hi.
Hi, Kyrus. How are you?
I'm doing okay. You know, I'm so happy that you're here because you and I have been friends for quite some time.
Quite some time.
Quite some time. And you are somebody that's very important to me, and you've been a significant person in my life. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a second. But I just want to check in on you. Quarantine. How are you doing? You have your family, your teacher, all of that. How are you doing during quarantine?
You know, to be honest, I would say we are at worst inconvenienced. I mean,
Sure.
we are in a good place.
Yes.
You know, I definitely miss the classroom. Ask anybody who would want to talk to me. Like I miss being in the classroom. I miss the face-to-face time. I mean, I don't think there's any teacher who's like, this is the best thing ever. I do miss that.
Right.
Is it nice? Is it nice to be able to have some time in the morning to go on a walk with my wife and dog? And yeah, it's great. Is it nice to go for a jog that's not at 4 a.m.? Yes, those are things. You know, my kids, they're handling the work pretty well.
Right. Yeah, I was gonna ask how the remote learning was going. So you have to not only teach your students during the day, but you also have to make sure that your son and your daughter are also doing their work for their teacher.
Yes.
Is it hard to mix the two? I know Lauren obviously helps out with that as well.
Right. Yeah. Lauren definitely carries, I would say, the lion's share of doing that. If we're all trying to work at the same time, scattered throughout the day, then I'm able to break away when we get in the afternoons.
Sure.
Daughter is really good. She self-manages. So the only time we'll get into something is, she'll ask me to come look at like an essay she's writing. And I'll be, well, as a teacher, I would say you need this to fix it. And then she gets all mad at me. And I'm like, well, I was like, you asked, like, here's how I would do it. And so we had a little bit of a fight there. Yeah.
I have a question about that. So have you ever been at a point when you're looking at your son and your daughter's homework and you just don't know the answer, but you have to pretend like you do?
We had this situation the other day with like simple shapes. And I was like, this is with Isaac's work. And I was like, shapes, we got this. And it was like, how many like vertices and how many sides. And Lauren and I got into this like full-on debate about like a cylinder, like a
yes.
can. Whether you count this as a side. Like, okay, we got the edges are a side, but is the middle as a side? And we're like, well, we're going to Google. And so we start, because the internet, there was arguments being made on both sides for whether or not the face of a can counts as a side because it technically has no beginning and end. Does that?
So what was the end result?
So I say yes. We went with yes. I don't actually know what the teacher graded it for, but we became this like 30-minute endeavor.
That's like there's
the sides of a cube. Yeah.
There's a debate that I saw online, and a couple coworkers of mine actually got into this debate as well. And we don't have to get into it now, but this is something that I take very seriously. Is a fish wet? When it's swimming around the water, is a fish wet?
Yes, I say yes.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't
There
know
are people,
controversy.
anybody watching this right now, and Bill, you can look this up too afterwards. Go online and you'll see that this is a gigantic debate about whether a fish is wet or not when it is swimming through the water. It is a big thing. And if anything, I just blew your mind, and you're welcome.
Well, I don't know I don't think I know what the controversy is, except that maybe people are just weird because
just wait.
If I'm in the water, I'm wet, right? Like it's
so Bill, I apologize in advance, because what's going to happen now is you're going to Google this right after this, and you're going to go down a rabbit hole. And then you were going to. I just took away 2 hours of your life, and I apologize.
That's true. If I have to throw another one in. We were having a discussion with a mutual friend, and the discussion was about if you define ravioli as essentially a dough-based layer with filling, then do Pop-Tarts count as ravioli?
Wow. Does this mutual friend, does his name rhyme with Rank Rorara?
No, it's not. It's not him, actually.
Interesting. No. Okay. All right. I mean, the other debate is a hot dog a sandwich?
That was another one that we discussed. Yes.
Do you believe a hot dog is a sandwich?
No, I do not.
What do you believe it is?
I believe it's its own thing. I have no good reason. It's its own thing because by every other argument that's been constructed, I can see why people want to say it's a sandwich, but I refuse to go there.
You're such a rebel
in my life, Kyrus.
You are a maverick. You are such a rebel.
Living on the edge.
So obviously, so you're a teacher, right? And
that is true.
So there is obviously you teach history, right?
I do.
And so there's history unfolding as we speak. You talk with students a lot. Obviously, our young people have their opinions, whatever they may be.
Mm.
When you're going about teaching about things that are happening currently in the world, what is your approach to just making sure, like right before this, we talked about the splitting between education and advocacy in a way. So how do you go about approaching that to your students who are asking you questions about how they should feel or how they should approach things or what they should know?
Right. So I think the thing that I have to start with, right, is creating the space for people to can ask those questions, right? I think that goes, for me, I'm a big believer in like creating an environment where people feel safe to ask tough questions, because if we don't set that tone early, we'll never get to that point, or students they'll never ask what they really want to ask. They'll try to kind of mask it, or they just won't express that they're struggling with the big questions, with these big things that are happening around them that they've maybe never taken the time to think about. So that's the first thing, is like establishing that space. And that's work. That's like 4 months of work in a lot of ways. In fact, like again, any teacher who would be listening would say the same thing, that in some ways when we went into like remote learning, like we lost like the best time of the year, because we've built that season in, like this is supposed to be like the sweet spot of the year, that like March, April, May, where you're like, all right, now I'm cashing in on all those months of investment. Like this return time. And so it's been tough, but I will say when you reach that point, I think a lot of it is just exposure to different subjects. Like I really try to emphasize, like if we're talking about, again, like race in America, like I don't want that to be just like a special lesson, or that's something that we do Black History Month, right? Like that needs to be a consistent part of the
it needs to become a part of the norm now.
Right. Like it needs to be, so like we can't talk about 1960s civil rights if you're not already talking about, issues of segregation laws that were put in place during the early 1900s, or the Tulsa race, the destruction of Tulsa, Oklahoma, by white supremacists. Like all of that needs to be brought in then, so you can pave the way for Black Americans who had World War II dilemmas, like should I not? Like those are all seeds that sowed before you get to Martin Luther King and Black Power movement, all that. Yeah.
No, I know you teach and you work with a lot of of Black students, where you are. Have any of them, given the recent events, have any of them, reached out to you, just for, I guess, help in understanding or finding ways to voice their opinion? Have you heard from any of them recently?
I don't. It's yeah. Well, so the answer is yes. I don't know if they come to me for necessarily like help me understand. I think a lot of them actually very much understand. I think
Sure.
they are. I think they're hoping that more students understand where they're coming from. But I did have a student who reached out to me. Now, I want to preface this by he had already done 95% of the work, but there was a student of mine, I taught him last year, and he had messaged me through Twitter, like direct message, just kind of said like, hey, I'm trying to put a protest together in Heightstown.
Yeah.
And what do you think I should do? Like, how would you go about this? Where should I go? And I talked to him just about, like, are you being proactive in reaching out to the police? Are you being proactive in reaching out to town councils? Are you doing this during the day? Because I understand that, again, there's messaging and optics of like being a nighttime protest versus daytime. And he had already had most of those safeguards in place and like things that he considered. So I think in my role, like sometimes it's students already have a lot of this worked out. They just need to be told that they are capable, that they have what it takes. And I think more than anything, it's like I can be the best I can to be a champion for them, because they're really very insightful and really aware, and I think they lack the knowledge that they know that they're capable.
Right. So when things, I'm going to put this in quotes, get back to normal, and let's just say, when the fall, because I mean, who knows when or if this is going to end, or what happens next, right? So when it's time, because we're heading into the summer season, so we're not actively teaching students, like we normally do. But when the school year starts back up, we'll be probably at the height of the political season. I would imagine by that point, I don't think we will have solved racism by that point. I don't think so. I mean, I hope so, but I don't think we'll have solved it. When you go in to make your lesson plans for the fall, how do you go about approaching this? Because I know a lot of it will ultimately depend on what is happening literally that day. Because I mean, the 24-hour news cycle is just, it's the thing. And so how do you go about staying as up to date as possible and putting together lesson plans that'll help maybe help shape things for them, or put it into perspective for your students?
Yeah. I would say that most, at least the history teachers that I know, like we're already used to kind of scrapping plans day of and talking about this. And so, like even just this week, I did that. We were supposed to do something about like the early 2000s, just looking at like the Bush presidency of the early 2000s from like a general, like, and I was like, nah, like this, I care about this week. Like that, no one's gonna be like, oh, the Bush policy on Social Security and and it's like no one's gonna care about that. So I was like, we need to scrap that and focus on the issues there. So I think that part isn't the hardest part. I think the hardest part is, again, seeking to diversify the voices that we have in our curriculum, right? Like, so a few colleagues of mine, we just got done reading How to Be an Anti-Racist by Ibram Kendi, and so. Like that's a conversation we're going to have this summer, is like, where does this book fit into our curriculum? Like, how can we incorporate more of this? How can we get students to kind of read this and be challenged with looking at not like identifying a person as racist, but identifying like a policy or a statement or an action that like we're all capable of racist and anti-racist sentiment or again, statements that we make, and calling those things out and fixing those things. And I think that reframes a lot of what we do. So I'm hopeful, because this is getting such attention, that doesn't just be like the book club of the month thing, but but you know what I mean? Like, it's like, well, I checked that off the list of like, diverse education approaches, but like we're actually like bringing that into the classroom. And I think that is the most important. Like, if I can't turn around what I'm reading and share something with my students, then why am I reading it?
Right. No, I mean,
that's,
Bill,
that's
You could have just become a math teacher because math has been the same for years. I mean,
you know what's funny is like I don't know what that world looks like where you do the same thing every year at the same time, because so many lessons get like lifted in and out based on what's going on around
could
me.
you imagine if
I
like,
could do that.
could you
No offense to
imagine
math
if
teachers. It's just not my
if
thing.
math was just like, there's something new every week. Like, oh, we got a fraction this week.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Right. I know. Right.
The president was talking about square
Today it's
roots.
5. Yeah. I don't know.
The House Judiciary Committee is going to be talking about multiplication this week.
Yeah.
Oh my God! But no, I applaud you. You know,
I will say,
Yeah.
okay.
No,
I
please.
was gonna say, I will say that this fall, so I started 4 years ago a presidential election class.
Yes.
talked.
Mm-hmm.
So that's running again this fall, and it's like jam packed. Apparently, like there's all these kids who want to take it.
I don't know why. It's going to be so boring.
That's right. Yeah. So right, and that was like registration for that class was like in February. Like this is for the last 3 months of like pandemic.
Right. But you know what? I find, and I'm sure you feel the same way. I kind of find comfort in that there are young people that want to like actively learn more about the current situation. Like that gives me hope. When I see the young people out there that are protesting, that are telling people how they feel, that's the hope that I love. Like the college graduates this year, the high school graduates this year that didn't get their senior year, but are still finding a way to just be proactive and use their voice for good to make things better. Like that's the hope that like I hope people will continue to recognize, because that's not easy. What they're going through right now is not easy.
No, I will stick up for Gen Zers on like any day. Like
we've had this conversation before as well. Yeah.
You know, and for everybody's like, oh, well, they don't know what's going on. They don't pay attention. I'm like, they are like, they fact check. They have a steady amount of like skepticism on like where to get their information. I'm like, I would put them up against any other generation at this point.
Right. I agree.
Compassion and just a awareness, a self-awareness.
I agree. Now, I do want to shift to our friendship, because this is something that I cherish. Now,
I appreciate that.
One of my favorite moments was, so last year, you, me, Lauren, and Chris, your brother, we went to Cedar Point because we are all roller coaster theme park fanatics, right?
Yes.
So for my birthday last year, we all went to Cedar Point in Ohio. And you guys got to see me in my element, in my happy place,
spouting statistics. Yeah.
And one of my favorite memories is there's this ride at Cedar Point called Steel Vengeance, which is which is the best roller coaster I've ever been on in my life.
Hands down. Agreed.
Hands down, like without a doubt. And so I replayed that the night that we went on that ride for the first time. I replayed that night in my head all the time. Whenever because I still have my hat, I still have my magnet, and all the stuff I bought for it. And I replay that night, and I always remember a new detail about that night every time I think about it. So I'm gonna quickly tell this story, and you tell me if I'm missing anything here.
Okay. All right. This can put me on the spot. Let's see if I.
So we had been wanting to go on this ride all day. I had been talking about it, talking it up, and then we finally got to the ride. Maybe it wasn't open like early in the day, or so, I don't know, but we didn't get to ride it until late, like nighttime, if I'm not mistaken. So we get there. Now, the whole time that we were there, we were playing a thing called the movie game, which is a game where, you go, the movie game or the letter game, like we were just playing games to occupy us for the time. And like I was a pretty active participant in the conversations, obviously. But then we got to Steel Vengeance. Now I remember that while we were waiting in line, it was maybe like an hour wait. I think I got just completely silent, and I was just watching the ride the entire time while you guys are talking.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we were like in the tunnel part where you can't see the ride, I'm pretty sure I just sat there just like silent.
Yeah, you or like looking up, like trying to like, yeah,
And so
beams, yeah.
yeah, oh, I was like, I was just taking everything in, and so we got on the ride finally, and what was it that I kept saying, like wow or something, like what did I said? Oh wow or
Yeah, you were, oh wow. Like it was just like,
it was.
like you, yeah, like just you, just like,
It was. I don't think
yeah.
people understand. While I was on this, like I've ridden hundreds of coasters in my life, right? Never in my life have I been completely speechless before, during, and after a ride. And I remember sitting on it, and I'm just like, I'm riding it, and and Bill's sitting next to me, and I'm like, oh my God, this is pure joy. This is the best thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you like walked off the ride and just there was just like no words.
Well, we got to ride it twice. Do you
That's
remember
right.
that?
We did get to ride
So
twice.
that which didn't make your wife and brother happy because they
No.
just walked to the exit, but there was like two extra seats, and
That's
we were
right.
like, there you go.
Well, I mean, all right, yeah.
And they're watching us from the exit. They're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So we got to ride it 2 times in a
Yeah, I'm not even
row.
sorry.
No, no, no. Lauren, if you're listening, I love you.
Nah, you know.
But
She's fine.
it was oh my God, that was probably one of the best moments of my life. And so I can honestly say that you were with me during one of the most exciting times of my life. Second to which, you were part of the other thrilling moment when we went skydiving for your birthday.
I was gonna say that too was a that was a moment.
You talked me into skydiving.
I know. I wasn't sure you were gonna show up that day. Do you remember?
Oh, Rachel and I, we originally were not, right?
Yeah.
Because like I remember, because you guys were already there.
We
and
were.
You guys called because like I think everything got delayed because of clouds or something. Like
Yeah,
that.
yeah. There was
And
overcast.
you called us and and you're like, are you guys coming? And we're like, oh, I don't know. And then you're like, just come. So we were like, okay.
Yeah.
So Rachel immediately starts putting on her makeup. And I'm like, why are you putting on makeup? She's like, because if the parachute doesn't open at my funeral, I want to look good. I'm like, Rachel, that's not how this works.
What if she landed on her face?
But that was, I'm glad. Would you go skydiving again?
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's hard though, because I like now my kids are like it was just my daughter at the time and she was like not really speaking at the point, like barely speaking. So now like now I get to know them more, you know, like now that it's probably a little harder for me to be like, I'm just gonna go jump out of a plane. We'll see on the ground, you know.
Oh my God.
There's a little bit of like, am I being irresponsible here?
How when you were skydiving awesome. That day, how scared were you? Were you like scared or excited or both, or like what were you
I was definitely more excited than I was scared. I was mad for a little bit that if you weren't going to come though. I remember saying,
I'm sure.
I was like, man, if they back out, I'm gonna be so mad. I'm glad you were there because I was definitely like, I was like, they're gonna back out. But I do remember, and I've shared this memory with my sister. But there were two distinct moments that particularly like I felt uneasy, and one was since my sister Katie was the first out of the plane.
Yes.
The awareness that like we all flew up together, and there's one less person in this plane. I guess two because the instructor, but like my sister was actively not in the plane anymore, and we didn't land. Like she's just not in the plane anymore. So that was like that's when it got real. I think he was gone, and we were still in the plane. But then the other one was when we actually, and you can probably remember this too, when we jumped out, I don't think I anticipated how much air you take in.
Yes.
And I remember having to force myself to exhale breath. And I was like, if I pass out during this because I'm not breathing, and I mean, especially because like I think, you know, like they paid for the video because it was my birthday. Just like, I'm like, how dumb would I look if I'm on the video just like, you know, because I passed out. So it's, I'm glad that I didn't, right? I'm glad I have a good video.
I don't know what I expected, but it's funny because when you look, before I went skydiving, when I thought of skydiving, I always thought, oh, they're floating. No, you are falling. when you jump out of a plane, you are falling towards the earth. I don't know why, Bill. I expected anything different.
Yeah.
But that was probably that initial like leaving of the plane was probably one of the most scary / thrilling moments of my entire life.
It was awesome. It
was
was
great.
And we have a great, there was like a great moment of like, we found each other on the ground and it's like, we're both.
I think you and I hugged. I think you were the first person I saw.
Yeah.
And I think I kissed the ground and then I just ran up to you and I'm like, Bill! That was a fun day, man. You and I have so many amazing memories together, but we met doing theater, you know, and which is something that doesn't exist right now.
No, one day when we tell our kids, be like, it's called theater, where people sat in really packed rooms.
Right.
And do you miss a lot to each other? And I do. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I would have been on some sort of break right now anyway.
Right.
But I do miss like the idea of it at the moment.
Yeah.
Even just, like singing with other people. You know, I lead worship at my church, and we finally, it's just us in the building. Like this isn't open yet, but just the ability to sing and make music with other people. It's not a performance when it's in church, it's different, but like I just miss, there's something about that community element. Again, voices against voices. I do miss that. I think that's been really hard. But no, I hope we get to do theater again one day.
I hope so. I hope so. Because I mean, I do miss it, but I do feel, and I've said this on interviews before, is that I am a strong advocate for the fact that I truly believe there's going to be a renaissance of art that comes out of this quarantine and this entire situation. There's going to be some good quality work. Even I'm gonna double down on it, given the current societal issues that are going on right now and these new voices that are being heard and discovered. I'm excited. I'm really excited. It sucks right now for sure, but I'm super excited to see where things go from here. And I guess my last question to you, Bill, is
sure.
What pieces of advice? Because you've always been somebody in my life that's I would say an optimistic person, hopeful person, a faithful person, right? What would you say to people, to anybody right now that is feeling down, that is like, this sucks, I hate this, which is a perfectly reasonable way to feel, obviously. If you could say anything to those people right now, what would you say?
Whew, all right. Simple question to end this.
Yeah, right?
I guess I always look at it as like, when we let our circumstances define our identity, that makes, I think that's when we reach like disappointment and discouragement, right? Because we put our faith and our hope in a set of circumstances. And again, not that we shouldn't ever push to change circumstances, like when we're in the midst of what's happening right now with Black Lives Matter, like people need to speak up. Like it's not about settling. It's not like, that's not what I'm saying. But I think it's more like we can't allow these moments be the things that define us, right? Like if I'm defining my joy and my sense of fulfillment that I have to be in my classroom, right? Then when I'm ripped from that, then I'm lost without that, right? And the truth is like I in theory I could lose my job at any time. I mean, in a figurative sense. So it needs to be something more than that. And I think that's for what it is for people. Is like, what is the thing that can't be taken from you that you're putting your identity in? Because if it can be taken from you, then that puts you in I think a much more kind of crisis point. And so that allows us resilience to kind of get through any situation, and still know that we have value. It's not found in our circumstances or in the external. It's found in something.
And I know that your words carry weight because you are very familiar with history and just how this is not the first time that we've all been tested as a country, as a planet, and it certainly won't be the last. But I mean, we come out strong, you know, we come out strong, we come out better, and we continue to support the people that love us and our friends and our family. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I continue to be thankful for you and Lauren and your children for being in my life and for, you know, always supporting me and for loving me. And honestly, Bill, it means more than you'll ever know. And I love you, man. And I really appreciate it.
No, we absolutely love you too, and we know we've said that, you know, you're considered like family for us, and especially, you know, for Isaac, like it is to have you in our life to be able to model what it looks like to be, I mean, not just a black man in America, but a good person.
Yeah. Are you saying that I can be Kyrus Kamps? Am I Kyrus Kamps?
Hey, you know,
yes.
There's it's a generous table. It's
well, man, I can't wait to see you. And once this whole thing is safe and all that, I can't wait to give you all hugs and hang out again and get back to some sort of normalcy. And I appreciate you. Thank you for sitting down with me, man. I thank you. Honestly.
Of course. No, thanks for inviting me. This is really fun. It's always
good. Of course, man. Everybody else, if you enjoyed what you're watching here, once again, you can follow me on my website, thevibewithkai.com, where you can get your Vibe with Kai merchandise. It's all about spreading good vibes. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Vibe with Kai. And you can follow me on Snapchat and TikTok at Kyrus Keenan. My little thing with Snapchat is this. If you send me a smile of yours, I will send one back to you, because I truly believe that smiles are meant to be shared. Once again, thank you, everybody, for watching. Bill, I love you, man. Mwah. Everybody else, I love you. Good vibes. We did it.
Hey.